No police, no courts, no prisons. So, what happened when someone in an ancient tribe stole your food? Or worse, betrayed the entire group? For most of human history, there was no formal justice system at all. No judges, no written laws, no jail cells, no badge-wearing authority to call when something went wrong. And yet, early human groups still had to deal with liars, thieves, cheaters, and people who put the whole tribe at risk. So, how did they keep order without any of the systems we take completely for granted today? The first thing to understand is scale. Early human groups were small, often just 20 to 50 people who all knew each other intimately, sometimes for their entire lives. There was nowhere to hide and no anonymity. If you stole from someone, everyone would know within hours, not months. That alone acted as an incredibly powerful deterrent, because reputation in a small group wasn't just social currency, it was survival currency. Your standing in the group determined who shared food with you, who helped you when you were sick, and who had your back during a hunt gone wrong. The most common punishment wasn't violence at all. It was something much quieter, and in some ways, far more effective: public shame. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, like the Sand people of the Kalahari, have documented this again and again. If someone broke a social rule, the group wouldn't necessarily attack them. They would tease them, mock them, or simply talk about their behavior openly in front of everyone. This might sound mild by today's standards, but in a tightly bonded group where your entire survival depended on cooperation, public humiliation could be absolutely devastating. For more serious offenses, groups often used something anthropologists call leveling mechanisms. If someone became too boastful, too greedy, or tried to take more than their fair share of food or resources, the group would actively work to bring them back down to size. A hunter who bragged too much about a big kill might find his contribution mocked or deliberately downplayed by everyone else around the fire. Not because the kill didn't matter, but specifically to prevent arrogance from disrupting the group's balance. Researchers believe this is one of the key reasons early human societies stayed remarkably egalitarian for so long. They had built-in social tools designed to stop any one person from gaining too much power or status over everyone else. But shame and mockery weren't the only tools available. Ostracism, being excluded from the group, even temporarily, was one of the most feared punishments a person could face. In a world with no supermarkets, no hospitals, and no security systems, being cast out of your tribe was often a slow death sentence. Without the group's protection, food sharing, and collective defense against predators, a lone individual's chances of survival dropped dramatically, sometimes within just a few weeks. Because of this, even temporary exclusion, being ignored, uninvited from meals, or deliberately left out of hunts for a period of time, was often punishment enough to correct even fairly serious behavior. People didn't need to be told twice. Interestingly, the process of deciding punishment often looked more like a group discussion than a trial. Elders or respected members of the tribe might speak first, but everyone present typically had a voice. Grievances were often aired publicly, sometimes around the fire at night, giving both the accused and the accuser a chance to explain themselves in front of the whole group. This wasn't about proving guilt beyond reasonable doubt, the way modern courts operate. It was about restoring balance and trust within a group that had to keep living and working together the very next day.
For repeated or severe offenses, some groups did use physical punishment, but evidence suggests it was far less common than we might assume from popular imagination.
Violence within the group was risky business. It could create lasting resentment, trigger cycles of revenge, or fracture alliances the entire group depended on for survival. Many anthropologists argue that early humans were actually quite averse to in-group violence, specifically because it threatened the exact cooperation everyone's life depended on. A group that turned on itself too often simply didn't survive long enough to pass on that behavior. In extreme cases, repeated violence, murder, or behavior that endangered the entire group's safety, permanent exile, or in rare documented cases among some studied societies, execution carried out by the group as a whole could occur. But these were treated as absolute last resorts, only used when someone had proven again and again over time that they couldn't be trusted to live safely among others. Even then, the decision was rarely made by one person alone. What's genuinely striking about all this is how much the entire system relied on the group itself, rather than any single authority figure sitting above everyone else. There was no chief handing down sentences from on high, no single judge, no one person holding total power over justice. Punishment was almost always a collective decision, discussed and agreed upon by multiple members of the group together. This distributed approach meant no one person could easily abuse the system for their own personal gain, a built-in check against corruption that some modern justice systems, even today, still struggle to fully achieve. Even children grew up watching this process unfold. Long before they could hunt or gather effectively, kids observed how disputes were settled, how apologies were made, and how trust was slowly rebuilt after someone had done something wrong. In this way, justice wasn't taught through lectures or rulebooks. It was absorbed simply by watching the group handle conflict over and over throughout an entire childhood. So the next time you think about courts, prisons, and police as the defining signs of civilization's progress, consider this instead. Ancient humans built entire systems of accountability using nothing but reputation, shame, temporary exclusion, and collective agreement. And it worked well enough to hold together tight-knit societies for hundreds of thousands of years, long, long before the very first law was ever written down.